everyone, welcome back to Touch the Fire Twice. I'm Joshua, and I'm here today to do an in-depth sniff candle review on LAFCO New York's Paradiso Fig 30th Anniversary Limited Edition candle. But before we dig into that, if you are new to Touch the Fire Twice, welcome. My mission here is to share my love and passion for fine home fragrance as an enthusiast, an educator, a reviewer, to inspire you to increase your own fragrance knowledge and understanding, ultimately enhancing the scent memories that you create. A couple of different ways to go about doing that. First of all, videos like this, the in-depth sniff candle reviews, where I break apart all parts of the candle, starting of course with the fragrance blend, the top, middle, bottom notes. What do the notes mean? How do we define them? What was the perfumer going for? What were they trying to evoke? Is this authentic? Is it unique? Is it original? How do I interpret it? What do I think it smells like? Do I agree with the notes? Is there something else in there? And the overall essence of the fragrance. Then of course, the performance of the candle, importantly, the wick, the wax, the formulation, the strength, the throw, how it actually performs to get those scent molecules up in the air so we can smell them. And then sometimes I'll go a step further and do an in-depth sniff comparison review, where I do all of that, but then go a little bit deeper and compare a fragrance to either existing candles you may already know, to say it is like this, it's not like this, it's similar to this one part of it, but a little bit different, put these together, and even compare to plants, food, botanicals, liqueurs, what have you, to really say how authentic is this or what does this smell like? So that it's not just do I like it, do I not like it, but to really try to help you build the fragrance in your own mind so you can understand not just my opinion of it, but what does it actually smell like. And then of course I'll do haul videos, I'll do first impression videos, I will do brand introductions where I dig into a brand's history, purpose, mission, product offerings to get a full sense of the brand that we're investing our time, effort, money in as we're purchasing and hopefully enjoying their products. And there will also be seasonal and fun videos along the way as well. But today we're doing this in-depth sniff candle review for LAFCO New York. Now, if you're not familiar with LAFCO New York, they're a luxury fine home fragrance brand. I have a handful of other videos that feature LAFCO. You can check those out. I have my initial sort of brand introduction discovery trio review. I did a review on their marine fragrance, the jungle bloom fragrance, as well as the terracotta scent just a little bit earlier this summer. So I'm super excited today to dig into their latest fragrance, Paradiso Fig, which is a special limited edition candle created to celebrate LAFCO New York's 30th anniversary. So John Bressler, the founder of LAFCO, he wanted to create a fragrance that would encapsulate some of his formative years in Italy, where he learned all about fine European apothecary traditions. And so this is meant to evoke the history of that, the lifelong passion, the pursuit of a lifelong passion, in this case, fragrance. And as I continue to go on my own fragrance journey and uncover my true passion for fine home fragrance and digging into what that could look like for my future and for my passion in pursuing that, it's really a good timing for this candle to come out because that is what his vision is for it. So I definitely can relate to it in one small minor way for myself. Let's dig into the packaging here. As always, LAFCO, it has the best packaging in the business as far as beauty and protection and storability for your candles. But this is a special one where you can see here, there's a sticker on the side, LAFCO New York celebrating 30 years. If you look up close here, this embossing actually says LAFCO all throughout the packaging. It mentions the story of why and how Paradiso Fig was created. And what's really special about this is it just hinges open to display the beautiful hand-blown vessel. As always, there's foam in the top, there is thick foam in the bottom to really ensure this candle is not going to be damaged, not going anywhere, as long as it is shut here. Of course, as always, their vessels are hand-blown, truly artisan glass. And in this one, it is just this fine gray kind of wisps through there that once lit puts out a really pretty kind of luminary display there on whatever surface it's sitting on. And of course, the most reusable vessels of really any fragrance brand out there because they are really, truly hand-blown beautiful works of art. Planter, every brand says put cotton balls in it, put pens in it. Sure, you can do that, but I mean, this is a nice fat cocktail glass or water glass or planter, whatever you want to use it for. Really worth taking advantage of that. This candle comes in 3 of their sizes. So there's the classic 6.5 ounce single wick, retails for $50. Their signature 15.5 ounce single wick retails for $75, and a new Luxe 4 wick 86 ounce candle, and that retails for $375. So by no means cheap, but the quality I believe and can attest to being certainly there. They do a primarily soy wax blend with a hint of paraffin, which actually helps with the fragrance throw and projection, getting those fragrance molecules spread through the air and into your nose. and of course your cotton wicks, as should be expected. So what we're going to do, talk about the notes, learn some of the notes along the way with you, and then of course talk about the performance of the candle, and really most importantly, what does it evoke, what does it make me feel. So I'll start right from the top here. The three primary notes on this, as mentioned on the box, are bergamot, fig, and peach. So fruity, but not the fruity you may be expecting. A succulent and vibrant fragrance featuring complementary notes of juicy and earthy fruits, including hints of Sicilian bergamot, ripe peach, and Paradiso fig, a renowned Italian variety with vibrant green skin and vivid red pulp. So sniffing this, just my initial impressions of it, this fragrance is, like all LAFCO fragrances, truly very unique. When it comes to how unique it is, I've never smelled a candle like this, which is always nice when there's something so incredibly special and original. This is succulent, it is juicy, it is fresh, not overly sweet though. It's juicy and fresh and fruity, but not a sugar bomb. There's a good dose of green in there, a little bit of sharp tanginess almost, but there's also a real depth of creaminess. And I think some of that comes from a floral, maybe a little bit from a wood, even some from potentially fig and some other things that are in there, but it's this interesting balance of being juicy, fruity, green, tangy, creamy. And again, not particularly sweet, though you can smell very clearly those juicy, vibrant, fresh fruits. What's interesting for me as well is this doesn't immediately transport me to, say, the hillside in Italy, like so many fragrances, especially with LAFCO, really, marine takes me to the coast in Northern California, and terracotta immediately transports me to the countryside in Spain at an olive grove. This has moods to it. It's less of a place for me. I haven't spent much time in Italy, so maybe that's part of it, but it's interesting because it's all of this brightness, but it's not necessarily summery. It's very comforting. This would be as appropriate burning on a fresh, cool, rainy evening for comfort, or on a bright, hazy, sunny afternoon for the brightness. Let's dig into the top, middle, bottom notes. That's, I think, for me, one of the most fun things to do with fragrance. So top, middle, bottom notes here. So top notes are black currant, bergamot, and cardamom. So black currant is typically going to be light, a bit fruity, sometimes woody. Black currant is going to have a slightly animalic edge to it. It's going to be tart. It's going to be a bit sweet, but sort of that tart berry. Think almost kind of cranberry-esque. Of course, bergamot is the fruit of the bitter orange tree. It's going to look a bit like a lime. It's got a bit of a lime angle to it, but it's unique in the sense that it's less sour than a lemon, but more bitter than a grapefruit. So try to wrap your head around that. And it's going to add a bit of like a bright, airy, fresh, kind of sparkling, that somewhat zestiness to it that really adds this uplifting, airy note to fragrance. And of course, cardamom. Cardamom can lean one of two ways, either more your earthy, smoky black cardamom, or more of the fresh, almost minty kind of eucalyptus green cardamom. Though they don't specify, I think this is likely more that green cardamom, kind of the brightness, almost slightly camphor side of cardamom to it. Less so that smoky black cardamom. And certainly there is the black currant, I think, probably plays with the fig, and as we get later into these middle notes, the apple, and then some of the peach in the base note. I think that's where some of the tart tang comes from. Bergamot, of course, you've got that is your bright fruit that's going to be a little sharp, a little bit tangy, and not overly sweet, but add that initial bright freshness of a citrus. And then the green, fresher, again, fresher cardamom there as well. Digging into the middle, sort of the heart notes of the fragrance, you've got Paradiso Fig. Now, Paradiso Fig, there are many varieties of figs out there. The Paradiso Fig is very unique, where it is that bright green skin with a vividly red interior. They say sometimes almost like a bit of a strawberry scent to it. And the story is that a man was eating figs under a tree, and he exclaimed, "This is my paradise," and thus the name Paradiso Fig was assigned. Now, fig can also go a few different ways in fragrance. So you could get the fig leaf, which is going to be bitter, green, very, very fresh, almost herbaceous, very botanical. But then you can also go into the sweeter, more earthy, milky sweet, creamy, honeyed, floral gourmand side of fig as well. And I do believe this is probably a bit of both. It can't be denied that there is a bright, verdant green fig leaf in here, but there's still sort of, I mentioned earlier, that creaminess that I think is from a couple different notes in here, but I think potentially from some of that fig and almost a bit of floral background as well, bringing you almost this gourmand aspect. And then apple, just straight apple. So apple, fresh, crisp, mouth-watering. I don't have to tell you what apple smells or tastes like, but it can be a little on the floral edge. Sometimes you get some of like almost tannins from the slight bitterness that the skin of an apple has to it. And in my mind, almost a sweet coolness is what apple often brings. And I do get some of that, like almost a green apple in here, where not quite sweet, not your fall autumnal apple, but that crisp, juicy freshness that an apple can bring. And then a really healthy dose of frangipani. So frangipani is actually the oil from a plumeria flower, and it is a heady floral fragrance, lush with a soft richness to it. Considered to be similar to almost think of a jasmine with some vanilla perhaps added to it, and a creamy floral, complex but also delicate. It's not quite as sensual and animalic the way that a jasmine can almost come across. And getting to the base notes, we have a peach, a cedar, and a gourmand accord. Peach, of course, everyone eats and knows peaches, but in fragrance, it's going to be juicy, a really deep kind of sweetness from that nectar of the peach. It can be slightly acidic, kind of that tanginess, almost a bit sour potentially, but also brings that creamy, velvety milkiness almost. Think of, the feeling of a velvety peach almost comes across in the fragrance. And they say actually, if you pair it with a gourmand or spice, it can almost transition from being that bright, fresh sweetness to more warm, mild, and nostalgic, which maybe there's a little bit of that in here too, like that very rich, very deep. And it's also interesting to see fruit in a base note. So it really means that the lasting fragrance in this, the depth of it, the supportive fragrance is going to be from the peach with the others as well. And then getting into cedar, I love cedar. It really probably is one of my favorite woods. Also love oud, but cedar is really right up there. It's gonna be fresh, vibrant, resinous, that woody, think your pencils in school, pencil shavings, cedar. It's very grounding wood. And again, more resinous, not so much the dry powdery, but that depth. For me, it's almost like I smell it as like red and brown and almost dark, could be almost dark, mysterious, that traditional forest scent. And then gourmand accord. That's a bit of a mystery in the sense that an accord, of course, is a blend of other notes meant to evoke a certain feeling. So think of marine air or sea spray. You're not actually going to have an oil from sea spray. You're going to have other notes that evoke the feeling, the thought, the scent of sea spray or marine air. That's what we're getting with the gourmand accord. Typically, you can expect gourmands to be something creamy, milky, could be sweet, bakery. Doesn't go that direction for me here. Sometimes can be towards spicy, but it's generally a bit more your sweet, your vanilla, your creamy, your candied potentially. And I do think with this, that could be some of the almost like a vanilla or something in here. I wouldn't call it a vanilla note because it's not quite as spicy and warm as vanilla can be, but certainly a creaminess in here that I think comes potentially from maybe like the frangipani, maybe even the fig, and probably this gourmand accord is where some of this creaminess comes in. It really just ties all of these tangy, juicy, vibrant, lush fruits and floral and woods together to be fully cohesive. It's that balance of juicy and earthy, not dirty earthy. So don't think forest floor, don't think, your oak mosses or patchouli or something that is going to be really a deep earthy. It's a balanced earthy so that it's not just your high, bright, fresh juicies. So you have that bright, juicy freshness from your black currant and the apple and the peach and the bergamot, balanced out with the green from your cardamom and maybe even a bit of the apple and certainly the fig, and that depth coming in from almost the frangipani, the cedar, your gourmand accord. Really a beautiful ballet of these opposing notes in some ways. It's just so unique. It's so super unique. Fig forward, I would say if you like fig, if you like a green fig, I can't imagine you wouldn't like this. It's not quite that bright freshness of, say, the cilantro orange candle or the rosemary eucalyptus. There are hints of some of those feelings in there, but a bit more earthiness and grounding and green. Performance-wise, very solid performance. Because this is a fairly wide diameter, thinking of the 15.5 ounce with a single wick and a primarily soy blend, it does take a while typically to pull out, so you do want to give it time to fully pull out. Sometimes it's worth wrapping a bit in, say, aluminum foil to just ensure that first burn gets that full pull. Once you've got that going good, subsequent burns tend to also be very healthy. As you can see here, a really healthy wax pull on this, an even clean burn, which is always important, incredibly strong throw and projection. Single wick candle, forget what you think about single wick candles. This was spreading throughout multiple rooms in my home. And you can see the flicker of the flame just kind of dancing through those wisps in the glass. Very pretty, especially when it's in the evening or a bit darker. And the candle truly is so strong that even just, it was sitting here on my windowsill unlit for a couple of days, and I would get whiffs and wafts of the fragrance. So you can count on this being a really strong projection and throw. And all told, I'm, as per usual with LAFCO, I'm really satisfied with all aspects of it, of the uniqueness, of the authenticity, of the artistry that went into building the blend of those notes, and of course with the performance, actually getting, again, the fragrance into the air and into our noses, and having a really pretty vessel and unboxing packaging experience. Just cannot recommend LAFCO New York highly enough. Check out their website. They have many fragrances, including many that have lasted from the original launch many years ago. And let me know if you've smelled this or other LAFCO fragrances. I have been purchasing them pretty frequently over the past couple of months because I really have been loving every single one I've dug into. And so I do have a couple that I have not yet reviewed that I definitely will dig into. I've got their Redwood Den candle, their Chamomile Lavender bedroom candle, and before we know it, we're going to be into their fall and holiday releases as well. Really excited about those coming up before you know it. But again, please do let me know what you think of this, and if you'd like to see other reviews from LAFCO, happy to dig into those as well. And until next time, take care.